What's good, guys? Your boy Kyron John here from Foreign Collect, and I'm about to answer the age-old question. Does length matter?
What?
Don't mind my jacked up 70 to 200. It's been through war and then some, but that's the point of being a photographer. That means I shot a lot. Now, this specific topic is geared more towards food photography and product photography. Most beginner photographers don't necessarily think about focal length and how it actually affects the image that they're taking. So that's what we're gonna jump into today. All right, so for example, I did 2 different sets of photos today that show a perfect example of 3 different focal lengths and how it actually affects the image. So check out these images. I'll give you a few seconds to look through them and try to figure out which one is which. I shot on 3 different focal lengths. I shot on 18, I shot on 50, and I shot on 85, all right? Just to show a pretty wide range of different focal lengths and how it actually affects the image when you use these different focal lengths to take pictures of specific items. You'll start to notice that the 18mm photograph is actually a little bit more distorted than the 50 and the 85, all right? So as you start to widen your lens, there starts to be a bit of distortion that happens along the edges and along the lines of these photographs, and it makes it pretty obvious that there's like banding around, like it starts to bulge. So when you're doing product photography, you want your images to look as true to scale as possible. You want it to look as realistic as possible and as close to what the client is actually going to get when they buy a product. And that's why the focal length that you use actually matters when you're taking specific photos. The natural eye sees around 50mm. That's the natural way that we view the world. So you'll notice when you start to get to like around 50mm, you'll start to notice that those lines actually look a little bit more straight, right? And then when we get to 85, it's even more clean. It seems to be very aligned properly, which is great. You want that. You want that image to look very true to scale, very realistic. Right, Sarai? I think she agrees. Now take a look at this additional image. I did the speaker, and you can see when you're at 18mm, it's bulging. When you get to 50, it starts to look a little bit more aligned properly. And then when you get to 85, it looks it looks way better. It looks way more real. Now don't get me wrong, each lens has its own creative purpose. Obviously that's what they were created for. Right now I'm shooting on an 18 to 35, got everything a little wide, right? But for specific commercial photography, when it comes down to products and food, you really want everything to look very uniform. I don't know how good it's gonna look if you use an 18 or a 16 or even a 12mm to shoot food. It's gonna start to look like it's bulging and wide and everything. So you'll notice a lot of the time if you shoot even portraits on a wider lens, it makes people look wider. Like their face looks wider. Right, you agree? Their face looks wider, but as you go in from 50 to 85, their faces start to look a little more thinner and it looks a little bit more flattering. So that's usually the best focal length, even across the board, like I said, outside of its creative purposes. Not to knock using other lenses for other genres of photography. This is just very specific to food and product photography and like, you know, its actual uses to get the most close to perfect image that you can. And with that, you have to use a longer focal length in order to achieve a specific look. So to answer your question, does length matter? Yes, it does. Peace. It's your boy Kyron. If you like it now, you'll love it later.